The last time the dollar did this, one of the most biggest runs, terrible English right there. One of the biggest runs that we've ever seen has kind of emerged from that. So ultimately, I wanted to go over a few things with the Dixie chart today, and then go over a little bit of Bitcoin action as well. Actually, one completely new thing that we'll be looking at, and also the people have voted, and they voted on the God angle. I wonder why no one voted on the BJ angle. Anyways, it must be because it's not that kind of bear cave, but all good. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to African Crypto Warlord in the Discord for putting this masterpiece together from yesterday's video. I'll get rid of my face for the moment here because it covers up the best part. Absolutely beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. My trainer had a good laugh from that, and as always, you gotta love this community, man. It's amazing. Anyways, let's jump right into it. I got my notes ready over here. Let's get over to the Dixie chart, and as we can see, the Dixie chart representing the dollar has been up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, working on week number 11 of greenness. And this has really only happened a couple other times in the history of Dixie, of which, if we throw in our drawing tools, or actually I already have them on, but I just want to highlight this area over here, we can see that long term, or if I can bring this up, there we go. The last time that this did happen was back on over in July of 2014, or starting in July of 2014. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 straight up weeks. Small correction, and then more up, leading into the highs that we did see ultimately in 2016. So basically 2 straight years of upside. Now the interesting thing about this actually is that traditional markets, I do believe, also went up during the same time. But of course, everyone's always obsessed with the dollar's value, and in this case, we do see another example a little bit further in the history in '96, where there was about the same number of weeks to the upside. There's one small doji right here is basically unchanged, so is that red, is that green? I'd basically count that as a nothing. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, tops on the 13, small correction, and then up and onwards again for the next couple of years. Actually, very interesting, topping out ultimately in 99. Or sorry, topping out in late 98. Anyways, my point is that, looking at this, Dixie very likely does have a lot more to go. I do know that, what was this, about a week or two ago in this region over here, I was looking for a potential reversal on Dixie. Obviously wrong about that. And of course, the criteria for being wrong was popping back up above that 104.5 region. And of course, that did initiate more and more upside. So here's what I would say about this. Yes, dollar, Dixie is very, very likely to head higher here. However, short term, probably in for a little bit of correction relatively soon. Or let me go back to the weekly. Probably in for a correction relatively soon, maybe after one more spike to the upside ultimately. But on the weekly here now, we do see all major moving averages in a bullish posturing. Of course, on the monthly, which is closing in just a few days, we do see, a massive girthy green dildo right there, back above basically the the spike highs that we did see in December of 2022. This does, for all intents and purposes, look like a breakout. And even the quarterly, which is going to be closing in 3 days as well, is looking like a reversal. So, long term, Dixie very likely still moving to the upside into the end of the year, I suspect. Well, what does that mean for traditional markets or Bitcoin? I don't know. I actually really don't know how much it does mean, to be honest with you. Again, I go back to this area over here in 2014. What was traditional markets doing during that time? 2014 was just it was this area over here. It was marching all the way up. And didn't really have a correction actually until deep into 2015. So, how much does it actually matter? I don't know. You're going to see a lot of people make a big deal out of this, as always. Now I'm just drawing shit. I mean to go to this one over here. But ultimately, things are moving here, and I suspect that you're going to see that as a big topic. The question remains, like, how much does it actually matter? Of course, during that time in 2014, Bitcoin was on a pretty nasty down move. The only other time that we did see something similar to this back in 97, Bitcoin wasn't even around, so it doesn't matter. Sorry about that. Bit of a cough. Who knows what I have? Who knows what I have? I don't know. I certainly don't know. Also on that note, I do want to quickly go over here before we get into the Bitcoin. Just looking at Dixie on the monthly stochastic oscillator. Are we going to see it pop back onto the upside? highly likely, again, with 3 days left to go, Bucko 4 and 32 basically is the current pivot. Even the quarterly, I believe, the quarterly is still pretty heavy down. So while I do suspect that this one will rally into the end of the year, higher term time frame still, kind of going against it. So, fair enough. Anyways, let's now go into Bitcoin. We're going to make Bitcoin quite simplistic today as far as analysis goes. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off right over here with the 4-hour HPDR indicator. Again, getting the range is like incredibly. I just fucking love this damn thing. I'm still biased towards a little bit of a short-term downside move here based off of the daily hidden bearish divergence and 2-day time frame hidden bearish divergence, which we can just go briefly reference over here, which were confirmed in the last few days, albeit very slow price action. But hey, it is in there. Yep, there's the daily and the 2-day time frame. So still kind of have to be, at least in my opinion, have to be looking for another swipe at the downside into the upper, maybe mid $25,000 territory. If we go off the 4-hour HPDR ranges, the current range low is about 25.5. So could very easily see a spike down around there. Just don't want to see any closures below there for the boo laws. If we do start to see closures below there for the boo laws, especially on like a daily, that's to the point where I have to start to entertain the possibility of a retest of the September lows, and at that point, that's where I'd probably start to switch around personally to being, looking for more continuation to the downside. Until then, I do still think that Bitcoin could put in a nice low anywhere within this region right here, as it'll just kind of grind it up in the more short term. So now that we got that out of the way, I do want to get into something completely new. We'll go to the weekly time frame here for Bitcoin, and what I've done is I've marked off the last few times on the weekly stochastics / DMI strategy right here over the past 3 years now, or almost 4 years, where we have seen this particular setup fire off, where the DMI turned green, indicated by that green dot, and the stochastic oscillator was heading up from around the critical zone. Pointed up from the critical zone, basically. So in this indication over here, you can see it was very low while it got that, and while it did cross the upside. We are going to have a similar potential to do the same thing in this current iteration, as the current pivot is 26,250. Really not. I mean, Bitcoin is above it as of right now, with Friday just a few days left. I believe it is exactly 3 days left. So, if Bitcoin plays out a short-term move to the downside, pops back up, reclaims, 26,250, hey, get out of my face there, bot. There's no trades to be made anyways, but my point is that, we could see this play out yet again. And going on to the chart, what correlated with these areas more longer term? Well, it was these areas right here, obviously, where we did see, Bitcoin put in a pretty nice move on this first one from December of 2019. It did eventually end in despair, as the old Rona hit after that, but about 60% to the upside from that signal given to next major high. Then we got the same thing going on in August of 2021, and again, Bitcoin just basically marched on a new all-time highs from that. Similar thing over here, or actually no, this one does not count because the stochastic oscillator was in a much different posture at that point. But the next one was actually the low so far of December 2022, so the macro low thus far. So is it going to potentially do something similar over this? Maybe similar to what we did see back over in 2019, which is I think where a lot of people think that Bitcoin is kind of mirroring as of right now. I have a lot of comments on that. Just the main comment would be, for the love of fucking God, no fractal from prior cycles has ever worked out ever for Bitcoin perfectly. Why do we expect it? Why do people keep on trying to do this as far as just price action goes? When indicators and mathematics get involved, different equation there. You can observe fractals for sure, but I've never just seen someone like copy and paste price action from a prior cycle on a current cycle, and it like actually works out like that. I've never, sometimes it follows it for a little bit, but it ultimately breaks the that relationship. I've even seen the same thing in traditional markets as well. Like, it's so funny to me that people try to map on all of the prior inflationary periods throughout the U.S. economy's history and say that it's this time is like this time. It's like none of the prior times have been like the prior times ever, fucking ever, like for fucking real. It's actually hilarious. It's like, this is like, and the funny thing is that I actually, when I was under the influence of curiosity, inducing substances, on my birthday, actually, this is what I did. I Googled and researched newspapers from back in, like, 1970s and 1950s and 1930s. The major crashes around the U.S. economy. And the funniest thing is that we saw the same headlines during those times, and the people were always, people were still making those comparisons. This inflationary period is like that. It's like, no, if you look at the chart, none of them look like each other at all. At fucking all. Like, it's actually hilarious. Anyways, in this case right here, I'm getting way out of whack. Apologies on that. But looking at this, what do I think is probably most likely to happen here? Maybe we see a little bit more of more of a grind down short term, maybe even hitting like 25,550. But assuming that this weekly still closes somewhere around 26. Even a little bit below is fine. I do think that we're going to see this one generally grind its way out, and October should try to the upside. So as I said before, in the past week, I do think that September is probably done with the upside for this month. Generally speaking, just going to be sideways, which I know is the most riveting of price action, sirs and zers. And I think that is where I'll just leave things off for today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you on this very one-sided conversation yet again. I want to be wishing you the best as always. Take care, much love, and thank you for very artistic interpretations such as this.